sad, and I'm gonna tell you my basic story. When I was in Haizong, moved to Hanoi. I was studying most of the time. I tried really hard to get to the good university. Soon I received a mail from the government saying that I have to move to a different country because I studied good. So I went to Azerbaijan to study. I was happy and a little bit sad. I was happy because I was going to a good university, and I was sad because I was leaving my family. One year later, I went to the Azerbaijan, and my trip was really cool. My trip was one day, and I was really excited to see Azerbaijan. When I was there, when I arrived there, I made new friends, and I was happy to go to a good university. I nearly made a new language, but I was still trying my best. Later, one more year later, I went to Moscow, and it took me one day to arrive. I was really happy. I learned a little bit of Russian, and I tried really hard to, in my university called MGU. When I made good neighbors, and I was really happy. 2 years later, I went to Baku for a quick ride, in Baku, I was really happy. I used all my skills that I used in Azerbaijan. I spoke the same language. I spoke Arabian, so I was happy, and I was a little bit sad for my family. So 5 years later, I went to the Hanoi. In Hanoi, I married. I married, and then I had a child, but the child was 2 months already, and because her dad died, so I was sad. So I took care of the baby for 5 years, until I went back to Egypt. I went to Egypt. It was really hot compared to Vietnam, so I stayed there. I traveled and studied. Most of the time I traveled, so I went to the pyramids to see the 7 wonders of the world, and I was happy that I made it to Egypt. 2 more years later, I went to Iraq. And I traveled a lot. And made new friends. And every night I went to my friend's house, or I went to the restaurant. It was really cold there, and it was war, Iraq versus Iran. So I didn't really fight, but I just stayed in a safe place. About 5 years later, I went to Hanoi. And my daughter was in Moscow, and she met a man in the airplane and then married him because he went to her house later, and then they were happy, and then 1 year later they had a baby called Fiona, and then I went back to Iraq that time. So in Iraq, I went to the 7 wonders of the world, to the Babylon, but nothing hanging gardens of Babylon and the life of Savannah inside it. And now it was kind of not cool because it was like destroyed already. So yeah, so after years of traveling, I went back to Hanoi and lived there until now. The end. Ta-da!